Today on the Railway Room, I'm going to be building a Ruston Hornsby 44-48 horsepower diesel from the Brooks 3D kit in 009. Hello friends and welcome back to the Railway Room. So yes, today I've got the Brooks 3D kit for the Ruston Hornsby 44-48 horsepower diesel I'm going to be building up. I thought this would be a nice little loco to have as a station pilot for the layout, to be able to do any shunting around the station area while the steam loco's up the shed, taking on water or whatever. So Ruston Hornsby made plenty of narrow gauge diesels. The ones that we're looking at today in this kit are the 44-48 horsepower version. Plenty of those were built, slightly different variations, some rebuilds over the years as well. So this version is based on Vulcan as it's currently preserved at Apedale, but I believe there are versions in the works to represent RAF versions with different exhaust and fuel tanks and so on. So kind of keep an eye out for those on the website. But the one that I've got is the initial version that's based on Vulcan. So whilst the kit is based on Vulcan, I will be making it slightly differently to make a freelance version for my freelance preserved railway. So I think that's enough preamble. Let's go and have a little look at the kit. So having bought this kit of him in person at his stand at Narrow Gauge Northwest, it arrives in this nice little bag. If you buy it online, it may well come in different packaging, but if we open up and have a little look, we can see what we get. So there's a second little bag in there. So we've got there, if we can see it, some glazing, and it clearly tells you the size that you need to cut that to fit. There's a piece of pipework. You get the choice of 3 names: Vulcan, Victor or Rusty. And so we've got, I believe this is a door. There's the cab roof, and as you get 2 crew members, so one to go in the cab and one to go on the board at the back. And then here is the print of the actual main loco body itself, and we can see some really nice detailing on here. It's very fine, all the pipe work. They look like they're going to be very fragile, they need to be very careful with them. And then there's got like the brake and reversing levers in here. These are levers going to lights on the front. Very, very fine, very detailed. So yeah, that looks really good. Now it does say on his website that you don't need to prime these. They are good to paint straight up. I may actually just take this and give it a quick spray in the primer, just because it'll show on camera the sheer amount of detail that there is on this. So after priming, we can now see a lot of the detail on there, and you can obviously tell from the size compared to my fingers just how small this is and how fine all the detail on the pipeworks and things are on this. It's fair to say I'm very, very impressed with this. It's so finely detailed. I need to be very careful that I don't damage any parts, but even the pipework and stuff on the inside of the cab there, it's very, 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 very nice. And so this is the chassis that the kit uses, the TomyTec TM-TR02. It comes in this little box standard for these TomyTec chassis. And if we have a look, so there's a bunch of extra detailing parts that we're probably not really going to be needing. And there's the chassis itself. So if we can pop it out, it's a very nice tidy little bit of kit, and you can see the way it is. There's the central part with the wheels and the motor, it's a little bit loose, and then there's this solid kind of footplate, if you like, with weights either end. Now, even though this is very, very small, if you compare it to the Loco, you can see it is going to need a little bit of modification before we can use it. So there are instructions that come with it, so I'm just going to dig those out. Okay, so apparently the first thing to do is to work out which end the worm is on, and then to remove the weight from that end. Now, if we look under here, there's little clips that are going to clip the weight on, so we just need to unclip those one way or another. So it's, yeah, just like that, and out comes that weight. And then there's little clips just in here on both sides of the worm. And you just need to clip it out from both sides. So, and that should be unclipped. So it's lifted up now. Okay, so got the motor out. So either side of the central gear here, if I just rotate it slightly, we can kind of see where they are here. So that's what we need to unclip now. Now he does note that in this stage you need to be very careful that we don't disturb the pickups. Okay, so that's that one off. So yeah, so we need to pop the motor back on so we can see where it's going to clip on at the back. I'm going to push it in at the back first. Move it in that way, I can see it a bit better. Hopefully. So now I do notice here that I have done what he said to try and be careful not to do. And that's, I've got this pickup a little bit loose there, so I just need to try and move that back. It does seem to be sticking out quite a lot at the front, which is not great. So maybe it's out of position there. So thankfully it wasn't too bad to sort out. I just needed to push it across to the centre, making sure that it's connecting on the bottom. I basically looked at the other side that was correct and sorted that out. If there's any question mark as to whether the pickups are doing their job, just a simple 9-volt battery across both sets of wheels. So it's working fine from the rear set and from the front set. Yep, so that's working just fine. So there we are, the chassis is now sorted and ready to go. So let's just paint up the Loco body. Okay, so what I've done is I've just gone around the rear foot, the bottom of the footplate and inside of the cab with a couple of coats of a very thin matte black. So this kit is designed to be based on Vulcan as it's currently preserved at Apedale, which is in a dark green livery at the moment. However, there's no reason why it can't represent another Loco, because there were plenty of these Locos built. They are quite numerous, and particularly because I've got a freelance layout in an alternative reality, there's no reason at all for me to necessarily follow the green of the specific prototype. And with them being industrial logos, they could be finished in pretty much any livery that the owner would have wanted. So because I've got quite a few green locos already, I'm going to go something a little bit different. And I quite fancy having this one in yellow. So I'm going to paint this up in yellow. And the yellow that I'm going for is actually not a specific model as yellow, but I've found one from a very cheap high street stationer's, just a generic yellow acrylic. It was a very cheap paint. The pack of 10 different colours was less than the price of one normal modelling paint. So I'm going to give it a try on here and see what it comes out at. I have a feeling it's going to be quite thin. It's probably going to need a couple of layers. But that's not a problem. So I've reached the point of realising I am going to have to give up with this paint. It seems not all acrylics are made equal, and there's a very good reason why this one is so cheap. It's just clumping up in the big parts. It's not sitting where it should, and in any little narrow details it's just clumping in there and obscuring all the fine detail. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to chalk that down to experience, and I'm going to give this a bath. So I've successfully cleaned off the majority of that cheap nasty yellow paint. There's still some trace elements of it on there, but that's okay. It keyed to the primer, I think, a little too well in some places, but it's all the gunk from around the details is gone, so that's the most important thing. So I'm going to keep on with the yellow, but I'm going to go with a paint that's designed for models, so I'm going to try this Vallejo flat yellow and see how that comes out. I can't see it being any worse than that last one. Cool. So that's the first coat done, and hopefully I think you'll agree that this Vallejo yellow is much better than that cheap nasty one I was using before. So I'll just go around now and give it a second coat. I won't bother filming that because it's going to be just the same, but that will just smooth over all the thin patches and even it out. Okay, so I've painted up the yellow on the body now. Reasonably happy with that. It's a little bit thin, a little bit uneven in some places, but it's actually kind of almost looks a little bit weathered already, so it's kind of the look that I'm aiming for. To be completely honest, a little bit of a win for the airbrush fans in the comment section. This would probably have been better off being airbrushed in yellow and then just painting over the details in the frames using the brush paint later. But I am reasonably happy with it. What I've also done is the folding door there, I've just painted that over a base in yellow as well. So now I've just got the roof and the exhaust pipe. I'm just going to quickly paint these over in black. And I'm just going to use a cocktail stick with a little bit of this black just to try and pick out some of the extra detail on this door. So the exhaust pipe, you can see we've got a little locating hole here and here. So if I just test the position, just like that, that's good. So there's two little notches there that go on either side of the pipe fixing there. So I'm just going to do a little bit of glue and put it onto these positions. So very carefully. And just press it down. Okay, so I'm just going to leave that for a minute or two. Okay, so I reckon the next thing that I need to do is the glazing. So it comes in this nice pre-printed sheet like this with the sizes clearly marked off, and the good thing is that there's effectively two sets, so you've got a spare for each one in case of any issues. So just using a nice fresh blade, I'm going to try and cut through. Okay, so I've got my 3 glazing pieces, and there's the 3 little slots that they hopefully will just slide into. So yeah, just like that, and then just to finish it off, I just put a little dab of the old glue and glaze, although to be honest any clear drying PVA is probably going to work just as nicely. So just along the top there. To be honest, once the roof's in, it's going to pretty much lock the glazing into position anyway. Okay, so next up is going to be the roof, and if you look on the inside there's an extra little filler piece here that's a bit of a locating piece to go across the doorway, so this will only fit in one way round. I have done a quick test fit just to make sure that it goes on properly, so I'm just going to go ahead and pop a little bit of glue down the edges. To be honest, you probably don't even need to glue this into position. It is quite a good friction fit. But knowing me, I'm just going to pick it up by the roof and have the roof fall off and then drop the main loco body. So I am going to glue it on. I don't think I need to access the inside anymore. So just very carefully get that into where it should be, which is not there. And there's a nice satisfying little click when it's in position properly. So there we are, we're getting along nicely, I think, now. So now one thing we do need to do is put some extra weight into this, because it is very light, and the chassis is also very light. We've taken the weights out of the chassis. There are two little compartments here, front and back, for weights to be added into. I need to be careful putting this down. So you can use various different things if you like for weight. I'm going to try out something that I had recommended to me online that I've never used before, so we'll see how it goes. Normally I use like liquid gravity, I think it is, and there's little tiny balls that you can glue in. People also use strips of lead that cut to the right size. The problem with the liquid gravity, the little balls, is you get all the little gaps between the balls, so you don't quite get as much weight into the same space that you could otherwise have. What I'm going to try is this. It's something somebody recommended to me online, so I've not used it before, but we'll see how it goes. What this is a tungsten putty. It's used as a fishing weight, that's what it's designed and sold as, but it is mouldable to any shape that you like, so I should be able to get this filled into the gaps nicely. This little packet here is 30 grams, so it has got a decent weight to it. So we'll see how we get on, how much I can fit in. I can see it's a bit like plasticine. So I'll just take a small piece and push it up, and then just try and mash it into all of the gaps. I need to be very careful doing this, not to damage any of the detail parts on the outside as well. Just to try and pack in as much weight as is physically possible, but whilst also staying within the profile of the Loco, so it's not sticking out and risking catching the rails or anything. And so I just realised I've probably done slightly in the wrong order here, because I do want to do a little bit of extra weathering on this, which really I should have done before I put the glazing in, but because the roof's now glued on and everything, I can't get that out, so I'm just going to be quite careful to not mess the glazing up. I'm just going to give it a quick black wash, and then maybe pick out some extra bits with some weathering powder. So being very careful not to get it all over the windows. I'm just going to come down with this, and to be honest, I probably should have done this before fixing the exhaust pipe on as well, but you live and learn, or you live anyway. And holy moly, it's very hot in this room, and this paint, this black wash has just dried before I've had a chance to wipe it off. And yeah, I'm really regretting putting this exhaust pipe on. There's this foldable door, which is an optional extra piece. It wasn't included in the first version of this kit, so this is a newer piece. It did take me a little bit while to kind of figure out exactly where this was supposed to go. I had to refer back to the pictures on his website. But we've got the hinges and the handle on this side, and they're going at the back away from the doorway, and it just drops in on this place. So I'll put a bit of glue on the back of it, so hopefully that should just now stick in place there. And then we've got the two driver figures, a driver and a helper. I've quickly painted those up. So now this fellow who's looking over his shoulder, he's going to come in on the back there. So I'm just going to get a little bit of glue on his boots and also on his hand, hopefully. And he does actually recommend a bit of glue on the hand as well, because it provides extra stability for this handrail, which is quite fragile. There we go. Now the driver, I'm going to need to pop the chassis in before I put him in, just to make sure he's not going to block the chassis. So if we look on the underside, we can see there's a narrowing at the cab end. So looking at the chassis, the side where the worm is, that's a bit narrower as well, so it will only fit in one way. So the worm is actually inside the cab opening. You're not going to be able to see that when you get the driver into position. So I'll just roughly test him. And I don't know if you can see it on the camera very well, but the driver, he has got a flat piece kind of cut away from his behind there. That's where he's going to push right up against where the motor is. So we need to make sure that we don't put any glue on here, because we don't want to glue him to the actual chassis. So again, it's just going to be a bit of glue on the bottom of his boots, and maybe some on his hand. So yeah, something like that. And now I will also just do picking out one or two extra little details with the black paint. So very generously, the kit includes 3 sets of nameplates that you can choose. So there's Vulcan, Victory or Rusty. I think I'm probably going to go with Rusty, but I'm going to paint them all up anyway. just to get the practice in. So the first thing I'm going to do is just get a basic black, because I want a black background on these I think, and paint over fully, but keeping it relatively thin so that it's not obscuring the detail. And then just going to let that dry. And so then, once that's dried, I'm going to get my brass colour paint and just using the smallest amount that I can, so I'm trying it with a cocktail stick, just kind of drag it across the top surface. So I'm just going to cut my nameplates off, and then I can glue those into position as well. So I just dab a glue and make sure I've got it the right way up. Now I've got two sets of spare nameplates to put into the spares drawer that could potentially be used on other logos. Last but not least, I've just got a little bit of some weathering powder. This one is apparently rust red. So I'm just going to very lightly apply a little of this around the frames. Try and pick out some of the detail down here. And now I'll use some of the slightly damp brush, just a bit more on the front coupling as well. Okay, and we'll just let that all dry in. And so one final touch is just these front and rear headlamps, and I've picked up these little rhinestones that you can get from craft shops. I think they work quite well. So I'm just going to use a little bit of glue on the cocktail stick. In the middle of that, and hopefully I'll be able to get hold of one of these and get it lined up. something like that, and the same around the back. Not sure I had any glue on that. Bit of glue. There we go, and I am going to call that done. So let's get it up onto layout and have a look at it in action. Okay, so there he is in situ, and very much looking the part, I think. And I'm really pleased with the way that he's come out, actually. And yeah, he really looks the part. So there we have it, that's my build of the Brooks 3D Ruston Hornsby 44-48 horsepower diesel. The painting definitely didn't quite go according to plan, but I think I've wiggled through it somehow, and yeah, I'm pretty pleased really. I think there's a couple of bits where I've messed up, so I've got some mess on the front windscreen there, for example, but generally I'm pretty pleased, and I think this is a really lovely kit, plenty of detail. And I think it is a great kit, really good value, packed with so much fine detail. I think you'll agree on that point, even if the painting of it doesn't quite do it full justice. So yeah, they're available on his website. I'll put a link down below. So that kind of wraps that up for today, I think. Thank you very much for watching. I hope you've enjoyed it. If you did, you know, the usual comment, like, subscribe and all of those jazzes. Until next time, thank you very much for watching. Goodbye. Thank you.